Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Buckle up indeed, and welcome to the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. This is Soccer in 60, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, J.R. Liebert, your friendly neighborhood scarf. Joining me on screen for this one half of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast, Ananda Karana. Ananda, welcome.
Hey, Scarf, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and it's also good to be back with Cara Lang Romero, of course, a two-time World Cup participant, a Canadian women's national teamer, and an Olympian as well. Cara, welcome back again to Soccer in 60.
Good to be here as always.
Great to have you. Look, Major League Soccer may have been on break, but there's still so much to talk about. Orange County, unfortunately, see their 2026 U.S. Open Cup run come to a close, while Angel City is off to a record start. LAFC watches many of its players on international duty, while Galaxy are hoping to get healthy during the 2-week break. But the big focus is on a streaking Empire Strykers squad, or for at least one night, the Empire Fury. The indoor boys are riding a 3-match win streak into the Ron Newman Cup playoffs. We also sit down with 2025 Orange County Soccer Club Player of the Year center back Nico Benalcázar. So much going on here on Soccer in 60. We're happy to have you all with us as we go through these 5 fantastic clubs here in the Southland. Let's check in first as we begin our episode with our friends over at Omnitrans. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers game. All right, Angel City kept their historic perfect season rolling last Friday with a 2-1 comeback win at home over the Houston Dash. The win continued the club's best ever start, now 3-0-0, as Angel City became just the 8th club in NWSL history to open the season with 3 consecutive wins. And Cara, what we saw in this one, a comeback for Angel City. Down just 10 minutes into the match, they came out roaring in the second half. And let me ask you, I believe it might have been Tim who picked this one. I got to go back and check. But Svendis Jonsdottir with another goal at the top of the Golden Boot standings yet again. She is on fire to begin this season.
Jonsdottir has been so impressive. Since game 1, she's been on fire, and she's continued that form through 3 matches. I've been incredibly impressed with her finishing. She really doesn't even need that many chances to find the back of the net. And if she can maintain this pace, I think Angel City might just stay perfect in 4.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing seeing Svendis Jonsdottir. She's also tied for second in the league with 2 assists with her teammate and my pick for leading scorer, which doesn't look very good right now, Kennedy Fuller. We saw Riley Tiernan score in this match again, but I want to ask you about the goalkeepers. We began this season wondering if there would be a keeper controversy, but it doesn't seem to have risen to the top. A 3-0-0 start, Angelina Anderson in goal for every single match. But she's been asked to do very little. A near league low 6 saves, conceded just 2 goals in the first 3. I want to get your thoughts on Angelina Anderson and how well she's played this early in the season.
Well, as you said, she really hasn't been tested, and that says so much about how strong this Angel City backline is. But the fact that we haven't seen any rotation yet so far means that Strauss clearly sees Angelina Anderson as her starting goalkeeper. And regardless of the number of shots she's had to face, it's obvious that this is the goalkeeper that the team is most comfortable with. This back line this combo between Angelina and her center backs just seems so comfortable and relaxed and confident. And so I expect to see her starting back there well for the rest of the season, really, with the way it's going right now.
Yeah, and you talk about that back line. They've done it all despite Sarah Gordon playing just 98 minutes. And even that's a little misleading since she played the full 90 in the 4-0 win to open the season. She played just 8 minutes in their next match and none against the Dash. But Sarah Gordon is somebody who many looking at this roster coming into the season thought that Angel City would be counting on. What's going on the back line with Sarah Gordon right now?
Well, she's still the captain of this team, and Alex Strauss has made it a point to mention her in post-match press conferences and how much she still means to this team. But at the end of the day, with Savvy King's return, that puts Sarah Gordon on the bench. And it's hard because right now that partnership between Savvy King and Emily Sams just looks so completely solid. And just again, as I said, the back line looks so solid. And a lot of that has to do with Emily Sam's leadership. She's played such a huge role in defining this team's identity, especially defensively. She's been praised by Strauss as well for providing calmness to the back line. But it's actually also been Evelyn Shores, who's been the most active defensive contributor for ACFC, leading the team in both tackles and interceptions. And then I talked about Savvy King. She's been really strong in the air and with her clearances. It's just overall Angel City's backline has been outstanding. It's the mentality, the organization for me. It's all been elite. And it's obvious that everybody on this team knows their role on and off the field. So I am confident that Sarah Gordon is comfortable in the role that she's in right now and still maintaining that leadership role that I think she will always have with this club.
And look, winning cures all ills, right? If you start out 0-3 instead of 3-0-0, we might have a different conversation. But the other thing to think about too, Emily Sam's likely getting called into the U.S. women's national team throughout the course of the year. So they're going to have to rely on Sarah Gordon eventually for sure for minutes this season. The next one's a tough one. Angel City traveling to Orlando to take on the Pride Friday, April 3rd, looking to keep that undefeated streak going. And this will be their last match before the 3-week break that NWSL will go on. I got to ask you about their talisman, Barbara Banda. She is special, one of the premier goal scorers, not just in NWSL, but in all the world. What does Angel City need to do to keep the Orlando attacker off the score sheet?
Well, Orlando has been criticized in the past for being overly reliant on Banda. So for sure, good call, because if Angel City can shut down Banda, I think that they can pull out a win in this match. But overall, it's really about denying that threat in behind. Banda's strength is her threat behind the back line, and Angel City center backs, Emily Sams, and assuming it'll be Savvy King again, will have to be ready to drop quickly and stay compact or use their recovery speed, which we know Savvy King has it, to prevent her from exploiting the space on the counterattack. But really, nobody knows Barbara Banda better than Emily Sams, who trained against her day in and day out when she was playing at Orlando City. So Sams is no doubt ready for the threat that Banda poses. And she'll no doubt be coaching her teammates on how to handle her as well throughout the week leading up to the game.
Yeah, you mentioned it. It's going to be a team effort, right? In soccer, in football, it's never 1v1, right? But that is the matchup that I'm sure the pundits will be talking about going into this one. Emily Sams against her former teammate, Barbara Banda, for sure. Angel City also might be running into another hot goalie, as Anna Morehouse already notched 2 clean sheets on the season. But it's been an incredible offensive start for Angel City. Let me ask you, what do they need to do to make life difficult for Morehouse in this one?
More of the same. Angel City has just been so clinical in their finishing. I don't think it really matters who they come up against in goal. If they can continue to be this clinical, they will find the back of the net.
All right, so let me ask you now, top of the table here, 3 matches in. Is this all Alex Strauss, or can it be attributed to, I don't know, maybe a different roster? Obviously, we've added a lot of firepower on the front line, but is this finally what we're seeing an Alex Strauss team do in NWSL?
Well, we've talked a lot about how important it was for Strauss to have a full preseason with his team. And he talked about what he could accomplish with this team if he had that full preseason. And I think we're seeing the proof now. I think a lot of it has to do with the players, key players that he brought in, like Sam's, Jonsdottir being healthy, but also I've talked about it, the mentality. You can see it in this team. They believe that they can win. And Strauss was asked post-match last game what this team's ceiling is, and his response was something like, the ceiling is an illusion. We can be the best team in the world. So if this is the kind of conversation that he's having with this team right now, and they're young, so when you're young, naivety can be a good thing. It can be your strength. And if they've got a manager who's telling them that they can be the best team in the world, they are soaking that up and they are believing it with every ounce of their being. And you can see it in the way that they're playing. And I believe him when I hear him say that. I think that there have been major expectations on this team for years, and it's finally looking like it all could come to fruition this season. I think expecting them to make it to the playoffs is not too ambitious by any means.
And this is a coach who's done it with Bayern, so we'll see what he can do for the full season here with Angel City. We're going to get to LAFC in just a little bit, but first, through the magic of the interwebs, there's Ananda, and look at this! We picked up a Timmy K as well. Timmy K, what do you say, my friend? Welcome.
Hey, good to see you, Mr. Scarf, and all my fine feathered friends. How we all feeling this evening?
Oh, it's a good night now on Soccer in 60. We got a fearsome foursome, so let's get right into the Galaxy. Of course, Ananda, you are one half of the host team of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. The Galaxy enjoyed a 2-week break thanks to the international window. They'll get things started in April at home, Saturday, April 4th, taking on a Minnesota side that couldn't be happier to see March go. The Loons went 0-2-1 in the month of March, being outscored 9-1 in the process. But we do know who they brought in. James Rodriguez has now appeared twice for the Loons. 4 key passes in just 39 minutes while still looking for his first goal contribution. I want to ask a quick question to Kara first and foremost, though. We've certainly seen our fair share of megastars landing in surprise destinations, we'll say, over the last 18 months. We got, of course, Thomas Muller in Vancouver, Griezmann now in Orlando, Josh Sargent in Toronto, and I don't think anybody had James Rodriguez landing in Minnesota on their bingo card. They've got a great soccer culture, beautiful stadium, but what does it say about the league and maybe about the Loons in Minnesota that they were able to lure James Rodriguez to Minnesota?
I think it says that maybe they didn't tell him what the weather was like.
Yep.
But other than that, I think it means that this league is now so globally recognized. Of course, we saw Messi, Beckham. They had more to do with this than anything. But it's also Zlatan, Son, Carlos Vela, Suarez, Alba, Busquets. And this one is a little different, as you mentioned, because it shows this move that apparently you don't have to be playing in a major city or a major market to attract superstars in this league anymore, because the quality of the league, I think, is so strong as a whole that no matter which team you're playing against, you're going to be coming up against other superstars. But also, I think, especially what we've seen with Son, is that no matter what city you're playing in, maybe your city isn't the biggest soccer market, but your fame will travel with you, like we've seen with Son. How many Son fans have we seen on the road, and the numbers that he's brought out, just and as well as Messi on the road. So I think the lure of that is part of it for sure. James definitely has seen what it's been like for a guy like Son on the road, and just what it's done for his profile in this country, regardless of which city he's in.
Yeah, we've got the 2-week break that we talked about. And Ananda, let me ask you a couple of roster questions for the Galaxy in this 2-week break. It's the injury status of 2 of their absolute stars on the pitch, Jakob Glesnes and Joseph Paintsel. Ananda, what have you heard about their, not just their status maybe for this Minnesota game, but how healthy they are after this break?
Yeah, we'll get the final word on everything tomorrow at media availability. So that's Thursday. So we have media availability with Greg. But the expectation is that Joseph Paintsel should be fit and ready to go for Saturday. How healthy he will be, we're not sure, but Greg will let us know then. I would expect him to start. If he's available, he's going to start that game. I think the Galaxy are really pushing for a win at home, especially before the 2-legged affair against Toluca next week, which is a monumental task for them. And then on the other side, Jakob Glesnes, still a ways away. I think Greg's initial or the initial sort of diagnosis was like 4 weeks or so, 4 to 5 weeks. So I think he's still a bit away, which means he's going to miss Toluca. That's a big miss for the Galaxy. But again, we will get the final details there tomorrow. Emi Garces is back and fully fit. He's played the last game, so he is back in the roster.
Yeah, and Timmy K is going to be a star-studded affair at Dignity Health Sports Park. Landon Donovan night, the first 15,000 fans receiving bobbleheads. Of course, Landon will be in attendance. James Rodriguez will be there. What do you expect from the atmosphere? I know it's waxed and waned a little bit over the last couple of years at Dignity Health Sports Park, but what do you expect it to look like when they take on the Loons?
I expect it to be, fire in the sky, man. I think everybody's going to come in, and the stadium is going to be electric. Everybody's going to be having their bobbleheads. And when you bring in a legend like Donovan is for the Galaxy and just USA Soccer in general, just before the World Cup, and they're going to, show off the statue and everything like that, I think the place is going to be a madhouse, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be and just feeling the electricity.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool night down there in Carson. Both clubs come in with just 5 points in their first 5 matches, but the Galaxy have done it amidst the backdrop of moving forward in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And with that, Ananda, the Galaxy have Toluca looming next Wednesday, April 8th, with that first leg down in Toluca. You already mentioned no Jakob Glesnes, most likely. But do you think the roster against Minnesota will have any effect on what happens down in Toluca, or should it be as close to a best starting 11 in both matches?
I think it will, because Greg said it as much. So I think the interesting thing will be, though, is how strong is that lineup going to be on Saturday? Because the perfect situation for the Galaxy would be you start strong, a la Charlotte, you pump 3 goals early or something like that, you kill the game off, and then you bring in the kids, right? And you sub everyone off at about 50 to 60 minutes. I think either way, whatever the game state is, guys, I feel like Greg's going to do that anyways. I mean, you want to leave Toluca with something, even if it's like a 2-1. That away goal is huge going to the second leg, which the Galaxy have to use as an advantage, because Toluca, I mean, we said on the show, they're probably one of the best teams in CONCACAF right now. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Greg does. But boy, what a monumental 2 weeks for the Galaxy here.
Yeah, and, Ananda talked about the hot start. Carl, let me ask you, speaking of CONCACAF Champions Cup, Gabriel Peck named to the best 11 for the round of 16, accounting for 5 of the club's 6 goals against Mount Pleasant, including his first professional hat trick in the first leg. Is it going to be more of Gabriel Peck doing the heavy lifting, or does getting a player like Joseph Paintsel obviously back help him out just a little bit?
I think they need Joseph Paintsel back. Peck was excellent, yes, against Mount Pleasant, but we need to consider who the competition was. Toluca is not Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant was no match for his speed, but Toluca is another story. I think that they will shut him down on the road. I'm expecting, a strong performance from him maybe at home in that second leg, but if he can keep his head and not get a card. But I don't think he's going to have anywhere near as much luck against Toluca as he did against Mount Pleasant, especially if Joseph Paintsel is not back and healthy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You're absolutely right. It'll be interesting to see, although Joao Klaus has been a goal-scoring machine so far to start the season, so they'll obviously get some help there from their talisman. And it'll be interesting, you mentioned it, if he can keep his head, but we've seen early on, Ananda, let me throw it back to you real quick, with yellow cards turning into reds this season for the Galaxy, and now you're going down to Toluca, where it's going to be a hostile physical environment. Can the Galaxy keep their head? Let's say they do. You mentioned a 2-1 scoreline. Let's say they go down a goal or 2 early. What is that going to mean for the physicality for the Galaxy?
Yeah, you said it. I mean, they have to keep their heads, but the track record early this season hasn't been good, right? So we're just hoping, the fans are hoping that the Galaxy have learned their lesson. Greg comes in with a good game plan. Look, if I'm Greg, I'm pointing to the Campeones Cup last year, where the Galaxy were up 2-1. Gabriel Peck actually scored the second goal to get the Galaxy ahead, but unfortunately the defense couldn't keep up that day, and they pretty much threw the game away with those 2 goals at the end. So this time the Galaxy should be better defensively, even without Jakob Glesnes. So now we're going to need to see it, especially in 8,000 feet of altitude or whatever it is, right? Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. We'll see. We'll talk about that all next week. We'll see what the result is there. Let's go up the road and chat about the black and gold. It's time to talk LAFC. LAFC finding itself in uncharted waters as well with a 2-week break as it prepares to play not 1 or 2, but 7 matches in April, 4 at home and 3 on the road. The black and gold will actually play 2 matches before our show next week. Saturday, April 4th, LAFC taking on Orlando City at BMO Stadium, looking to continue their incredible clean sheet streak to start the 2026 MLS campaign. They've kept a clean sheet in all 5 of their league matches to start the regular season. And of course, that also means welcoming back a couple of familiar faces in that of Edward Atuesta and Maxime Crepeau. It's been a rough start to 2026 for Orlando, losing 4 of 5 to the tune of a -12 goal differential. Timmy K, being able to get out there on the pitch and welcome back 2 players who are part of their history, part of their heritage. Seeing Edward Atuesta and Maxime Crepeau in purple, it's going to be weird for supporters of the black and gold, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little weird. I'm sure that if either one does something spectacular, about half of the fans are still going to cheer for them just because of how much they have meant to the club. Hopefully it doesn't happen too often in LA, for the LAFC, for the local fans. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they're received as part of the starting lineup, and then 2, how they are received or how they're cheered when they do something really well.
Yeah, we saw Ilie Sanchez beaten up on Sonny last season. So I don't know, maybe no love lost for these former black and gold members for sure. Carl, let me ask you, rumors of both Jacob Schaffelberg and Stephen Eustachio getting closer to match day fitness. We know El Mapletree, the Canadian men's national team, near and dear to your heart. What have you heard? Is there anything to these rumors about the fitness for both Schaffelberg and Eustachio?
Well, it sounds like Schaffelberg is doing well. He's on time in terms of his recovery. I don't think he'll be back this weekend. I haven't heard anything definitive, but I think it's soon. I haven't heard anything about him taking any steps backwards. Eustachio, though, today I did hear a rumor that he's back in Porto getting treatment. Have you heard this?
Yeah, it's such a crazy injury too. I mean, a masseuse worked on him a little too hard, created a new injury. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it looks really bad on LAFC for sure. The fact that he's now gone back to Porto to get better treatment, presumably. I don't know if that was something that was recommended to him by the Canadian men's national team head coach, and they were like, get him out of there, get him to better treatment. I don't know, but it's a bad look for LAFC, and it's disappointing for the team as well because they need him heading into CONCACAF Champions Cup. They really need him. So I was disappointed to hear that news, and also just super confused because it's an odd situation to bring a guy back on loan just for treatment. And it doesn't seem like it's a major injury, but it's enough to have kept him out this long. But they were definitely hoping to have him back, I think, around now.
And World Cup preparation, right down the corner. So we'll see what happens with Eustachio, but we know how important he was to the black and gold. Wondering what it will look like just 3 days later, as on Tuesday, April 7th, LAFC will welcome the defending CONCACAF Champions Cup winners in Cruz Azul to BMO Stadium for leg 1 of their CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinal matchup. LAFC knows how important it is to defend their home turf, as Alajuelense made it tough on LAFC at BMO, forcing them to have a gritty 2-1 result in Costa Rica just to survive and advance. But look, it's March Madness, so the theme is survive and advance, right? Let me ask you, Ananda, what does LAFC have to do against Cruz Azul to avoid that similar tough fate? It's something we've seen, with the Galaxy had a tough run of it in some of these legs, the 2-legged matches. What does LAFC have to do against Cruz Azul?
Yeah, well, I think you got to look at this as a 2-legged affair too. So especially the fact that the first leg is at home, they've got to build enough of a cushion. Now, against Cruz Azul, that's not an easy task, right? So there's a lot of other factors at play here. I mean, Scarf, you talked about even with the Galaxy, this idea about physicality, and Mexican teams, they're going to try to get in your head, rough you up. There's a little bit of what's the word? The dark arts, right? You got to just play through that. And hopefully you come up with a positive result. Hopefully you keep that away goal, out of sight. so that you have a little bit of a buffer getting to that second leg. So I think for LAFC, like you said, it's about just surviving, and especially think about this as 2 sets of 90 minutes. This is a 180-minute game. The LAFC has to manage it the right way.
Yeah, Timmy K, let me ask you, what's more important in this one? Keeping the 0, the clean sheet at home, or getting out in front and getting a few goals so you can take that with you down to Cruz Azul?
The clean sheet. That's my opinion. You've got to keep them off the scoreboard, because if they get 1, they're going to get 2. And then LAFC is going to be in the soup, right? And you're going to go down to their home stadium, and LAFC will not advance if they give up more than a goal. If they give up 2 goals, LAFC is really, really cooked. So I think for sure you got to keep that clean sheet against Cruz Azul.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. If they give up more than 1, it's going to be tough sledding in Cruz Azul when we play them in that second leg. A handful of LAFC players joining their national teams over this 2-week break, both for World Cup qualifiers and for friendlies. We will not discuss Italy, as I am still reeling from that loss to Bosnia and Herzegovina. But either way, it was also a rough 2 games for South Korea, even though they've already qualified for the World Cup, as they dropped both their matches. Sunny getting 32 minutes in the first, 82 minutes in the second, but being outscored 5-0 on aggregate. So yikes there. But I want to ask you, Cara, about Matty Chouanier. He got the start and played the first 64 minutes in a gritty comeback draw against Iceland. What are your thoughts on his, especially now that we talked about Eustáquio maybe not being ready, his chances to play meaningful minutes for Canada's national team?
Yeah, he's definitely got the potential to be a backup for Eustáquio and Ishmael Kone on that Canadian national team roster. A lot may depend on his club form going forward. So I think these next few weeks with LAFC are absolutely crucial for him. And if he can score a few more bangers like he did against St. Louis for LAFC, he certainly will make a case for himself on that final roster.
Yeah, we're going to need him too for sure. I should say LAFC is going to need them too for sure. Nathan Rodaz having a very productive spell. 2 goals for La Selecta in their 2-2 draw with the Dominican Republic. Then got the start against Martinique. David Martinez getting a little bit of run against Uzbekistan. So overall, a pretty productive time for LAFC players on international duty. I just want to take a quick second also to congratulate the 22 members of LAFC's Special Olympics Unified team who signed their contracts on April 1st to be part of the 2026 squad. They'll play the following LAFC's matches at Nashville and home against Portland. So I just want to say congrats to those 22 incredible individuals and good luck to them. We are going to also say congrats and thank you to Ananda, who I know is going to bid us farewell for this week here on Soccer in 60. But Ananda, we'll see you next week. And there he goes through the magic of editing. We are going to head to our fantastic interview. Timmy K and our producer, Gunnar Burnt, sat down with Orange County Soccer Club's Nico Benalcázar for a fantastic interview. And he joins a very select club, the Two Timers Club, here on Soccer in 60, as it's his second time appearing on our show. So let's throw it over to Nico Benalcázar.
All right. Thank you, guys. We rarely have repeat guests on this show, but in this case, we couldn't be more excited to have him on for a second time. He is a standout with undefeated USL Championship side, Orange County SC. Hailing from Connecticut, he came up through the Youth Academy of New York City FC before starring at Wake Forest and later playing for the NYCFC and the FC Cincinnati organizations. He's a former youth international for the United States and OC's 2025 Player of the Year. It is such a joy to have with us again, defender midfielder Nico Benalcázar. Nico, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Always great to have you. When I chatted with you after a recent home game that you guys won over Colorado Springs, I asked you what you've been up to off the field and on camera, actually. And you told me, basically more the same, hanging out by the beach, coffee shops around Orange County. Is there anything, you've been here a while now, right? So is there anything you've discovered, maybe a place, an activity that you weren't aware of a year ago when we spoke, that you've come to really appreciate since we had you on the show last?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously the beach itself it never really gets boring. It's the weather first is awesome, but I would say one place that really surprises me is Irvine Spectrum. I mean, I think I say it because I'm so close to it, and I normally just go out there to hang out. I'm not a indoors type of guy, so that outdoor, mall that we sort of have very close is really nice. There's obviously coffee shops there as well, so it sort of gets me away from everything, and then also I get to people watch, which keeps me busy as well. So I normally have my computer out and sort of act like I'm busy there. So it's definitely a good spot to be.
Act like you're busy. That's funny. All right. Now, during the off season, you went around the corner from where I grew up in Germany, and you hung out with U.S. internationals Joe Scally and Gio Reyna. Why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about the relationship that you have with those two, and what your time was like over there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I grew up with both of them. I've known them both since I was 12, 13 years old. So, when I hang out with them, it's more so not a lot of soccer is being talked about. It's a lot of, everything else, other sports, or even just life, happening between us three. But no, I would say we have a good core group of guys that we get along with, from our academy team growing up. There's, Andres, Jason, he plays in Denmark, even Justin Hack now at LA Galaxy. We all get along really well. So it's nice just to have them, continue playing, but also continue being those normal people that, I grew up with. I would consider them my best friends. So it's pretty nice to have them, doing what they're doing, but also, able to host me when I go visit, saves me a little bit of money as well. So no, it's definitely nice. And, I'm their biggest supporters. I'll text them, a lot, either before games or just an occasional FaceTime. So no, it's definitely nice to have, those friends. I think I may have told you guys last time on the call, we train Monday through Thursday. So right after practice, I'd go there, and there'd be weeks where I'd see them more than I'd see my own mom or my own parents. So it's pretty crazy, honestly, that, you grow up with these guys and everyone goes and, does their own thing, but you never really lose that communication. So I would say that's probably the synopsis of how we all get along. It's definitely cool to have them there, but now hopefully they can come out to some Orange County games soon.
Yeah, that's awesome, Nico. You got to have those friends, especially from your younger times, man. I love it. Hey, last season you guys gave up 1.5 goals per game and finished 7th in the West. And so far in 2026, as Gunnar mentioned, you're undefeated. And now you've only given up 2 goals in 5 games across all competitions. That's 0.4 goals per game, which is amazing, incredible. What's made the defense so much stronger this season?
I would say it's just the collective buying in that we have. Throughout the preseason, we talked a lot about being a team that doesn't concede a lot of chances first, but then obviously goals second. I know I told Gunnar after our game that was one of our main things to focus on this year. I think it's really important that the whole team buys in. Obviously, you look at the defense and you say, how can we not concede, or as midfielders, defensive midfielders, how can we not concede goals? But it starts with the forwards. It starts with them to the first line of defense. So I would say we see a whole different collective buy-in this year in terms of not allowing goals, because at the end of the day, if you're not getting scored on, you won't lose the game. And we saw that with a few of our ties as well this year. It's not the prettiest of games, and even our last game against Oakland, the last 10, 15 minutes we're basically defending in our own box, against them. So I would say it's the feeling should be similar to of scoring a goal, of blocking shots, of getting clean sheets. I think that buy-in, like I continue saying, is definitely one thing this year that I've noticed a huge difference on.
Yeah, now you've mentioned it. You mentioned the Oakland game, and I was going to go there next. And you're coming off 3 straight clean sheets, and your new goalkeeper, Alex Rondo, has looked excellent those games, especially against Colorado Springs and Oakland. And you've been in the midfield a lot, but you also play center back. As a defender, could you explain to us how Alex Rondo differs from what you've had in the past and how it impacts the way you guys play?
Yeah, of course. Going back, just a little side story. Going back to our academy days, he's also been our teammate since we were 13, 14 years old. We grew up together. So I've known him, pretty much my whole life. I remember we used to go on vacation together in Florida. Like, I used to see his family. So we're very, very close. So it was really cool when he told me he was coming here. So that relationship piece, was easy to sort of bring him along and sort of introduce him to everyone. But I would say, yeah, I mean, as a goalie, he's a bigger guy. He's, very confident in himself. So that having that, behind you is definitely super important. In the past, we had Colin Shutter last year, another great goalie. So I wouldn't say there's anything too different. I would say in terms of how we are operating as a team, you definitely want to, like I continued from our first question, be a better defensive team, and having that goalie who's there to make that 1, 2, 3 saves a game where, he's needed is very important.
Talk to a little bit more about that Oakland game, and how do you feel your team executed your game plan going into that game?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we definitely knew they were going to be a good team. They were top of the West going into the game, and they're a way different Oakland team than last year, more, possession-based team. We knew that going in, and we thought if we could disrupt that, from the start, either with our press or by keeping the ball ourselves, we could definitely, come out on top. I think we went into the game pretty confident in how we've been playing, but also in terms of our game plan, definitely trying to look more direct to either Dogman or Mo that we have as outside backs right now, but then even, new players like Mateo, who's come in and done a great job. It's pretty cool to see that maturity of different players, just taking their moment. It's awesome to see. And then also as well from us to have that goal to go up 1-0, it makes everyone's job a bit easier, and we're able to, calm down a bit more and sort of keep the ball. But no, I would say our main thing was to disrupt them, and I think we did a great job.
Yep, and I'll encourage everybody to go look at the highlights, especially the final moments. You'll see something that is very highly unusual. Second ball on the field, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Take a look for yourselves. Let's talk Open Cup, right? We're talking on the day of the game. It's Wednesday that we're recording this. Phoenix Rising coming to town, unbeaten in 4 across competitions, but also winless in 3 in league play, with 3 straight draws, but that means they're hard to defeat. To me, it's a reflection, maybe a little bit of their main problem, which is that no one has really stood out and taken charge on that team so far. What do you make of them this season? What are some keys to the game that you guys have focused on?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely aren't letting their past performances get in the way of our thinking. We know they're a great team. We actually played them earlier in the year. And they have a great coaching staff. They definitely have a clear plan of what they want to do. It's just our job to, again, go and disrupt them, and also make sure that we're the ones bringing that energy from the start, because, at the end of the day, you can look at them and say, hey, what can we do to sort of counter them? But a lot of it has to do with what we can do better. So in terms of comparing our first game against them till now, obviously they got a red card early in the game, so sways a little bit of our game plan in terms of in the moment. But I would say the way we want to play is to keep possession of the ball, play attacking football and sort of get players turn in the pocket to go forward. But they do a great job of staying in their shape. They have very fast physical wingers, players. So it's definitely important that we defend well, but at the same time keep the ball, do our play to our strengths, in our game tonight.
Yeah, cool. So on Saturday, you guys go back to USL play and host New Mexico, which has also had a tough start to the league season. But they won their first league game, and all of their games have been very close. What do you guys expect from this one? Have you guys talked about it, or are you just hyper-focused on Phoenix right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much only focused on Phoenix. Honestly, I didn't even remember we played New Mexico until you had said that. So, I mean, yeah, we're definitely focused on tonight. We definitely want to win. It's a huge game for the club, I think, as well as for the players. We definitely want to keep advancing in this tournament, especially after last year where we were out pretty early. So we definitely want to keep it moving. And, but there's no better way than to focus on tonight and then move forward after that.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So speaking of home games, you've got when Gunnar spoke to you after one of the games recently at Championship Stadium, you told him that your family wasn't there that game. That sounds like maybe you get some family to the game sometimes. So it begs the questions, how's that possible with them being all the way back in Connecticut? Has anybody moved out and enjoying the sunshine here in California with you?
I wish. In terms of my direct family, they came up for the first game, and they'll try and come out to some more games. It's tough, especially with everything, all the prices going up. It's definitely not easy, but I do have cousins that live here. So my mom's brother lives in Yorba Linda. So I have, 3 cousins on that side. My mom's sister, she lives in Sacramento, but then her 2 kids live in San Diego. So I'll have a good group of fans every once in a while. I know I'm not sure they can come tonight, but hopefully, by Saturday they'll be there. And it's nice just to have people that, you grew up knowing, supporting at your games. I know they'll do a lot of tailgating before the game, so I'm not sure if I'm seeing them in their natural form, but what better? It's definitely great to have them supporting me.
Either way works either way. I'm here without any of my family. They're all back home in Germany, so I'm a little envious of you, I got to say.
Yeah.
But final question for you. We mentioned you've played for the U.S. at youth level, but you also have, and we talked about this a little bit last time, you have Ecuadorian, not just roots, but citizenship, actually. And you've previously said you'd love to play for Ecuador one day. Now, I'm not sure if you're still holding out hope for the World Cup this summer, but let's assume for a second that you don't get called up. The USL doesn't pause for the World Cup. What's your plan for watching both the US games and the Ecuador games?
Yeah, I mean, the one having the US here at Great Park is awesome. My friends, obviously, other than those 2, hopefully they'll both be there. But, I grew up playing with basically the entire team, so I know a good amount of them pretty close. So, I mean, they'll be close. I'll be able to either see them train, or I know they play in LA for 2 games, so hopefully I'll get out to watch. But I know we have a week off in June, or I hope we do. I know it's free in the schedule, where Ecuador plays Germany in New York, or New Jersey, New York. So I think it would be awesome to go home and watch that, with my dad or my siblings. So whether that's in the stadium, I know tickets are basically impossible to get, but either in the area or at home with them is definitely awesome. I support both teams. I just watched Ecuador play this week or last week against Morocco. And then, the U.S. obviously played last night as well. So I try and watch all the games. All the players there inspired me. And I feel like if I can continue on this path, getting better every day, who knows where the game will take me. So I definitely still carry out hope. And obviously, probably for this World Cup is a bit too hard, but you never know what'll happen. So if I can just keep working hard, hopefully it'll all pay off.
Yeah, got to keep dreaming, got to keep believing. And I'll say this, we're rooting for you hard to make it back home for that Ecuador-Germany game. What an occasion that would be for you. But I'll also say, if you can't make it out, I'm here. I'm from Germany. Nice. We'll watch it together, and we'll kind of root for each other's teams or something. It'll work out. But yeah, Nico Benalcázar, thank you so much for coming on. Always such a pleasure to talk to you. Really appreciate it. Orange County SC defender, midfielder, Nico Benalcázar. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Great seeing you guys.
All right, Timmy, it's time to talk about the County Boys. We've only got a couple of minutes to do this, so let's go through it pretty quickly, as we spent a good time with Nico Benalcázar there. Unfortunately, their U.S. Open Cup run coming to an end at the Champ in front of what looked like dozens of people. I don't know what the ticket deal was going on there. That was rough. But a 2-1 defeat late. It was as U.S. Open Cuppy of a match as it gets, right? 9 yellows for Phoenix, 6 for Orange County. Both sides emptying the benches with the exception of their backup goalkeeper. I want to get your thoughts on their performance in a tough loss in the Open Cup.
Yeah, watching them play, you look at that and you've got 15 yellow cards in 120 minutes, which is just insane. There should have been at least a couple of reds in this game too. But overall, even with the discrepancy in Phoenix having on the ball, Orange County played great in this game. They played really strong. The only goal they really gave up was the late header. The first goal that Phoenix got was just a mental error, and the Easter Bunny came early and the ball jumped over Alex Rondo's foot for their first goal. But the way they fought back, the way Scylla gets that goal in the 86th minute to push it into extra time. The boys played very well, and you could see Coach Stone on the sidelines encouraging them the entire way. And, our guest, Nico, had a great game. And with the exception of the mental error, Alex Rondo in net actually had a really strong game too.
And you mentioned it, Ousmane Silla scoring in the 86th minute. He came on in the 73rd, so a super sub doing his job there, certainly for Coach Danny Stone. I do want to go quickly to their last result, a 1-0 win against the Oakland Roots, and Matteo Bunbury of the Traveling Bunburys scoring his first of the season just after halftime. And Rando with 5 saves and a clean sheet despite no Tyson Espy. I do want to ask you about one other player too, though, who's near and dear to your heart, I know for sure. Midfielder Kevin Partita passing the 10,000 minute mark with 6,600 of those coming with Orange County Soccer Club. What does it mean to have such a veteran presence in Partita in the middle?
I think it means everything. Carr has mentioned it and you've mentioned it. If you don't have a strong midfield, you're cooked in any of the leagues that we cover, and especially in USL Championship. So to have him in the middle, being a strong presence, being that leader, being that veteran, really makes a difference for the Orange County Soccer Club.
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about the announcement that a match will be played at historic Eddie West Field. We'll talk about that later, including the strangest red card I've ever seen late in that Oakland Roots game as well with that keeper. But right now, we're going to check in with our friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. And now we are going to welcome in the voice of the Empire Strykers himself, one Christian Philly Philemon. Philly, welcome back to the show, my friend.
What's going on, fellas, and what's going on, Soccer in 60? At this time, the clocks are off, the mics are on, and the only thing stronger than all this commentary better be the drink you hold in your hand. Welcome to Happy Hour. Let's make it a good one.
I love the retro-themed jersey you've got on there, my friend. We'll talk about that in just a second, but it is celebration time, certainly, in Ontario, as fresh off clinching a playoff berth last week, the informed Strykers kept their momentum going on a historic night at Toyota Arena. On Saturday, March 29th, Toyota Arena hosted a doubleheader with the first match seeing Empire's newly formed women's team play the second leg of the MASL SoCal Women's Arena Cup against the Soccer's women's squad before the Strykers, or should I say the Fury, took on the St. Louis Ambush. More on that second match in a moment. But Philly, I want to ask you about this two-legged affair. First match being in Oceanside, second match being at Toyota Arena between these two women's sides. I know the hope is that it will generate hopefully 2 more women's clubs into MASLW. I want to ask you, you were there. What did you think of the atmosphere and the action on the pitch?
The atmosphere at Toyota Arena, I can't speak for at Front Wave, but the atmosphere at Toyota Arena was nice. There was a good crowd there, at least over 2,000 people from what I gathered. Don't quote me on that, but it was a good time, good scenario, and I think the players on the turf know something a little more than we do, y'all, because Ashley Nick, the player who was the captain of the Sockers and would eventually get the player MVP, made a comment about something happening in October. So honestly, I think she gave us a spoiler alert. I think the Strykers and the Sockers will be MASLW teams in this upcoming season. But in terms of the battle, the game at Toyota Arena was very competitive, back and forth. Unfortunately for Empire, it was San Diego that would come out with the dub, but it's a great atmosphere and really good times. And I'm so looking forward to having this go on consistently at Toyota Arena. MASLW is going to be huge. Mark my words, it's going to be huge.
I love it. Look, you mentioned one back and forth affair. It doesn't get more back and forth than Empire Strykers, or for this match, the Empire Furies victory in overtime over the St. Louis Ambush. Back and forth, neither side leading by more than one. Ambush would score, Strykers would answer, Strykers would score, Ambush would answer. But Philly, you made the call. Dayerson Gratterall calling game off of a Wallace score.
Yeah, it was great. Alan Perez would end up with the assist on that. It was just an electric way to end the game and to go out on top for the regular season. That gives the Strikers their 12th win of the year. Back-to-back years in which they've won 12 games. They beat a St. Louis team who, at one point during the game, almost had the supporters shield clinched. I mean, it was so crazy, the back and forth, because that game was going on, Kansas City and San Diego. It started right. They were halfway in as we started our game. There was so much chaos, but Gratterall, and I'm happy for him because he's worked really hard to get himself accustomed to the indoor game. Having him get the game winner was awesome. And in front of a crowd of nearly 8,000 people, the biggest crowd we've ever had for an Empire Strykers game, without question the biggest crowd we had in the MASL. The fans were treated to a lot of amazing competition, competitive flair, and just what a win it was. I think my voice is still scarred from that goal call.
Yeah, Timmy K, let me ask you, Philly mentions it, 8,000 or so in the stands as they ride a 3-match win streak into the Ron Newman Cup playoffs against Milwaukee. This show leading right into that match, 6:35 p.m. tonight, MASL YouTube channel and Fox Sports 1270 a.m. What does it mean that the Strikers have been able to cultivate such a home field advantage at Toyota Arena? I think attendance records throughout the league consistently this season, Timmy K. It is an electric atmosphere at a Toyota Arena.
Yeah, and this is one of those sports where it's really good on TV. It's really good when you're listening to Philly on the radio and listening to him. But being in the stadium, it's kind of like the first time you ever go see an ice hockey game in person live. It's a completely different world. And to feel that energy, and you can feel it all the way up in the press box and everywhere else in that arena, when you put in that many people that are screaming and yelling, it's a different world. And it means everything to the players.
Yeah, it absolutely changes the atmosphere. Philly, let me ask you, Empire set to host the Wave tonight at Toyota Arena. Look, they were leading with less than 2 minutes to go in their last match against the Ambush, but another late goal forced overtime. What do they have to do to prevent this from happening in this crucial first leg against the Wave tonight?
Eat whatever they had for breakfast the last time they played them in Milwaukee, where they dominated. Listen, this is everything that happened throughout the course of the regular season is gone and out the window. Sure, we can paint this with the highest scoring team versus the team that allowed the least amount of goals. We can paint this as the team that's got the best power play versus the team that's got the best penalty kill. We can play this as the top 4 of 10 scores in the MASL, all part of the Milwaukee Wave. Or we could just say it's going to be an old-fashioned grudge match, which it absolutely will be. 7th meeting historically between these two teams, and 3 of them happen to already be this season. It'll be the 4th tomorrow for the first time in the postseason. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Strikers absolutely need to pick up the W because winning in Milwaukee, winning on the road is hard. And the last thing the Strikers are going to want to do is force that 15-minute extra I don't want to say extra inning mini game. I know Commissioner Keith Tozer hates that, but it's going to be a damn good game against a team who, here's a history lesson for everybody. The Milwaukee Wave are the longest running current professional soccer team in the United States, dating back to 1984. Google it. But they're going to take on an Empire Strykers team that is 4-1 in their last 5, and things are firing on all cylinders, and they're starting to get hot exactly when it needs to happen. Better be at Toyota Arena. If not, catch us on YouTube or on 1270 AM Fox Sports. I'll be on the call. Empire Wave. It's going to be a fantastic game of indoor.
And Philly, correct me if I'm wrong, the start of the Berto Palmer era was that 6-3 win that you were mentioning there back on March 15th. It's incredible. Let's get into my favorite segment here on Soccer in 60. We're going to keep you on for this one, Philly. We're going to talk a little best 11, and this was a fun one this week. You had Alex Rando in goal for Orange County for their match against Oakland Roots. For the defenders, Tom Brewitt and Grayson Tubbs of Orange County Soccer Club for their match against the Roots. Andy Reyes and Berto Palmer for their matches for the Empire Strykers against St. Louis. And oh, by the way, Tom Brewitt wearing the captain's armband. And I hope I pronounced Garrison Tubbs' name right. If I didn't, I apologize to Garrison Tubbs. Midfielders, Chris Hagart from Orange County Soccer Club for Oakland and Phoenix. Riley Tiernan and Mjaren Hughes for Angel City and their performance against Houston. And at the forward spots, you have Barbara Chelier for the Empire Strykers against St. Louis. Svendis Jonsdottir, no surprise there, for Angel City against Houston. And Mateo Bunbury for Orange County against Oakland. All right, so that's 5 for the County boys, 3 for Angel City, and 3 for the Empire Strykers. Philly, let me ask you first. How important is player coach Berto Palmer for however long Empire Strykers make it through these Ron Newman Cup playoffs?
I mean, he's a crucial part, regardless of whether he was running the team or not. He still captained it from the back line. He is the anchor, one of the best defenders in the history of this game, but he does have significant coaching experience at the club level and at the collegiate level at his alma mater, Park University. Look, he's important. Obviously, the reason why the Strykers have allowed the least amount of goals in MASL, partly due to our excellent goalkeeping tandem of Orozco and Gomez, but of course, that begins with Robert Palmer.
All right, I'm going to throw it over to Timmy K. 5 County boys on the best 11 this week, including Mateo Bunbury. We mentioned it, his first goal of the season, and a fantastic one at that. The game winner for the 1-0 win over the Roots, and just another piece of the offensive puzzle that Danny Stone can now use down there at the Champ.
Yeah, him coming in and getting that game winner. You've had a couple of guys now. You had Espy a couple of weeks ago get his first game winner. You have Mateo get a game winner. And these are all younger guys, first time in the league, really trying to figure it out for the County boys and in their first professional seasons.
Yeah, and then I want to give you the last word to talk about one of these 3 Angel City players. We know all about Svendis Jonsdottir, and I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot about Mjaren Hughes over the course of the season. But Riley Tiernan in the midfield, we've seen her score goals. We've seen her control matches there in the midfield. A great week for her. How important is her performance early on in the season for Angel City?
Well, I've been waiting for her to score, and then you realize that it's only been 3 matches. It's just that Angel City has scored so many goals that you're wondering why she's not yet on the score sheet. But to score your first goal in the 3rd game of the season is there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that everybody's happy to see Tiernan on the score sheet. It was a poacher's goal. It actually could have very well been Mayada Noose's goal because it came off of a beautiful header from Noose on frame with an unlucky deflection off the backside of the Houston Dash defender that Tiernan then was in right place, right time, put it in the back of the net. What I loved most about that goal, though, was just how it was such a team effort. It was a beautiful ball into the box. The service from Giselle Thompson was excellent. The call from Mayada Noose making a 30-yard run with her arm up in the air, demanding that service into the box, and then Tiernan just being in the right spot. As I said, poacher's goal. Love to see it.
And you talk about the right spot. The right spot is right here on Soccer in 60, leading right in to the Empire Strykers playoff matchup against the Milwaukee Wave. Once again, MASL YouTube, Fox Sports 1270 AM. You can check out the Empire Strykers. But you know what? Timmy already said it. You should be in the building for this match out at Toyota Arena. Once again, thank you all for joining us on another fantastic episode of Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. We will see all of you next